What's up, guys, and welcome back to a very fog lampy and auxiliary lighty version of Project Time Garage. Behind me is our 1994 Dodge Ram 2500 V10 four-wheel drive, 5-speed, long wheelbase, blue with bird poop on the fender truck. This is a little sort of a side project that we've been working on a little bit here. If you guys don't know what truck I'm talking about, right up there in the corner is going to be a link to an entire video series, volumes and volumes, hundreds of thousands of hours of pure viewing euphoria on the truck. The project's coming along great, but in the world of lighting, it ain't so great. You see, I put those fog lights on the front, or those driving lights on the front of this thing. It was one of the first things I did when I bought the truck back in like 1997, or I may have put them on there around 98. Either way, they've been on there a long time. They are they're a name brand light, Pia, P-I-A-A, Pia, Pua. I don't know how you say that, but anyway, that's what they are. But they're halogen bulbs, and they worked great when I first got the truck back, and subsequently they've both died. So wouldn't mind having a little bit more lighting to go on the front of it. Well, as luck would have it, the good folks over at AuxBeam, they reached out and they sent us these lights for review. And review them we shall, because, you know, they're kind of cool because they have regular LEDs for like driving lights, but they also have a section of ambers for like fog lights. So I figured that was pretty cool. Also, I was kind of intrigued that it has a little push button there that, you know, to turn them on, turn them off, and to change the colors, you know, to change between amber or regular, you know, white fog lights or fog lamps or driving lights, whatever. Anyway, let's see what's involved in getting these things put together. Take you in there, get the box open, and show you what we got. So we have our lights themselves. Pretty cool looking, huh? Wiring harness, mounting brackets, empty box. Well, let's see first exactly what they have in mind as far as mounting and making them work. Oh, look, they've even included the relay and everything. It looks like literally all we've got to do is hook to our battery and ground, mount our relay, and everything else is good to go. Let's see, what is this? This is the switch that turns it off and on, and then turns your mode from the ambers to the whites. So I'm going to unhook that for a second. So we'll mount this somewhere under the hood, about at least this far away from the battery, because that's where these are going. And then we'll need to get a hole in our firewall that is roughly that big. Or I'll tell you what I may do. I may actually de-pin these and just send this, you know, this right here through the firewall, and then repin it at the other side. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to do. So that goes on the inside. This goes to the battery. This mounts to the fender well there somewhere. And these two run out to the lights. Wow, this is going to be a pretty simple installation job. Okay, let's go to the truck and put some of this theory into practice. Well, I chose to work outside today because it's absolutely a beautiful day outside. It's about 73 degrees right now with a slight breeze. Beautiful. Love this time of year. That being said, you're going to hear a lot of that. So I'm going to try to edit out all the sneezing and sniffing and coughing and watery eyes to the best of my abilities. But this time of year, you don't want to see me off allergy medicine. You know, that's pretty funny too, because I never had allergies up until about probably 5 years ago. And all of a sudden, allergies just happened. So what's up with that? But I know one thing, if I'm not on some Claritin or some Zyrtec or something, I can't even function. Anyway, where are we going to put the relay? Looking in here, I have a bunch of different options for mounting, And right down here on the fender apron here, the inner fender, I've got several places. In fact, there's already a hole in a couple of these locations, so I think I can probably just get by with doing something like that. Well, I actually opted, after looking around a little bit, I found the existing wire that goes down to my the existing lights that are defunct, and I've decided that I'm just going to mount the relay right here on this inner fender structure. And I'm going to do a more professional job than most people. I'm just going to use a self-tapper and plenty of drill. It's reverse. Like that. And that's got the relay mounted up nice and neat. For the ground, I'm actually going to cut the end of this off, and I'm just going to put it underneath this self-tapper because that's plenty of ground for it. We'll just cut the end off. I'll use the improper tool to strip these back. That. These little heat shrink connectors, really nice when you're outdoors because they kind of glue themselves on. Amazon link in the description for these if you decide you want some of them. There we go, grounded. That's it, you're grounded, mister. As far as the rest of the wiring goes, we said that the small one with this end is going to go through the firewall and up to where we're going to mount our switch. So I'm just going to kind of pitch it over that way for now. This is my old existing wire that's going to be cut out of there. And these are the wires that are going to go out to our lights. We just need to find a somewhat nice and clean way of getting them out there. I think in this case, I'm just going to start running them around under things, and we'll come back and zip tie them in a few minutes when we get them down to where we want them to go. This is where my original fog light was mounted, and I went ahead and just temporarily stuck the bracket on this with one bolt because I want to make sure that, you know, I can lay that bracket up there and, you know, have a pretty full range of movement with the light for adjustment and such. And that actually looks pretty good. That shows me that I can take this mounting bracket and mount it basically all the way up against this part here that I cut many moons ago. And the nearest I can tell, one way that you put the bracket on will set the light forward. Like, for example, if I mount it like this, it sets the light forward. But if I mount it like this, it'll set the light backward. And I don't really have enough room to set the light backward. So I'm going to mount it this way, which brings the light forward a little bit more. There's just a little bit of an offset in this, and that's pretty handy. So as far as where to drill the hole, honestly, right there don't look half bad, since there's already a hole there and everything. Now we should be able to send our bolt and our bracket up through, and the bracket have these neat little ears on it that catch the bolt, so that's kind of handy. And that should have been maybe a little bit bigger drill bit, but we don't care. That's what's known as wallering it out. It hath been wallered. And look, it's like a champ now. Now all we've got to do is reach back there, find our bolt, and put our lock washer and our flat washer on it. Like that. I should probably do something about all of this mess too, shouldn't I? And I probably will. Okay, I'll tighten this up and we'll put the light up. Now, some of the more astute of you may have noticed that AuxBeam is upside down here. Well, they included this convenient Allen wrench. You can pull this lens off and clock it to whatever your mounting method is. In my case, it's going to be upside down, so we'll get to that once they're mounted. Meanwhile, I have all of my wiring here that comes down from under the truck. The goal here is going to be to basically just run it over the top of the frame horn, preferably without getting greasy. We'll see. And at this point, it's just a matter of plugging the lights in. And once we get both of the lights in there, I'm going to go up top. Well, I'm going to take this stuff and zip tie it up neatly. Then we'll go and pull our slack back and we'll zip tie it all the way back up through the truck. Make it look a little bit better. For now, let's mount the other light. All right, there, it's installed. How does that look? The next order of business here is to get this stuff all zipped up. And to do that, I'll use zip ties. I'm going to go to the original wire loom here, and that's where we'll zip to. I guess at this point I need to go up there and just pull it tight, and we'll just keep working right up through there. At the risk of getting terribly greasy, I'm going to zip it right here above the power steering pump, or power steering gearbox, which has to be replaced. And the rest of this will just be tucked up in the engine compartment. Always cut your tails off. All right, that's cleaned up under there. Let's go back up top. So I have a small hole already in my firewall, but this big connector is sure not going to fit through it. So I'm going to go ahead and just depin this in order to, in order to pass it through a little easier without this big block on it. And I'll just repin it on the other end. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use this depinning kit. Basically, it's got different different tools for pretty much each kind of pin out there, that, or most pins that there are. These, you can look at it and you can see at the very top of each pin there's like a little opening there, a straight opening. This right here appears to be the right pin for it. The way this works is you just basically push this in there and you can grab that pin and just pull it out. And I've gone ahead and written on each corner what the wire color is so that I get it put back together the right way. On that side, all out. All right, at this point I can take all these and put them really close together like that and pass them through the firewall. I'm sure it's going to be impossible for you guys to see where those holes are, but if I can see it in post-production, I'll put an arrow to two holes that already exist. Don't remember why. All right, now that it's passed through the firewall, I use a little bit of tape on the end just to kind of hold all this stuff together to keep it from getting all gross. And actually, sometimes when you depin these, sometimes you have to come back and pick them back up again. Pick them back up. Bend these little tangs back up so that they catch again. Like on the yellow one, for example. There we go, clicks back in place. So we'll go through each one of these and we'll respring them, get them back up enough where they have a good positive lock. All right, repinned. Okay, this is where I chose to mount my switch. I know that's a little bit of a strange place to mount it, but there's a really good reason for that. I don't want to drill any more holes in this dash bezel because they're kind of getting hard to come by, and when you do come by them in like LMC, they're kind of expensive, so I don't want to do that. Plus, I wanted to put it somewhere where I'm not prone to hitting that mode button, because you know they have all the different flashy modes, and I'm going to show you those here in a second. But the last thing I want to do is you know hit the flashy mode and you know be riding down the road with my lights flashing and strobing and stuff like that when I don't want that to happen. Not that I probably would ever want that to happen short of a hazard. But anyway, let's go have a look at them and you know show you what they look like. Well, look, I have a bee in the truck, a carpenter bee. What's up, buddy? Guess he's just out building houses or trying to tear mine down. So here's how I wired this thing up. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and say this now. The way that they want you to install this thing is they want you to just hook the relay straight to your battery plus, and the lights, the little module here always has power to it, which means you can turn the module on and off, you know, regardless of what state the ignition's in or what state the light switch is in. And that means you can accidentally leave them on. Like, you know, during the day, if you had them on and you stop somewhere and go in, you could leave them on, and that's going to be about a 3 amp draw or so, 3.5 amp draw, something like that. Eventually, you're going to come back to a dead battery. And knowing me, I'd leave them on. I'm that dude. I'd absolutely leave them on. Probably the first flipping day I had them. So I chose to do it a little bit differently in this particular instance. I actually tapped off of an existing switch that I have right here that I installed many moons ago. And this switch here is the one that used to run my fog lights out there. And basically, for the long and short of it is, I have a little offload relay up front that is triggered when the parking lights come on. So when the parking lights come on, this switch has power, and as long as this switch is on, that relay, you know, is energized and sending battery voltage out to the lights. Meaning, I have power on here, but when I flip that switch off, I lose power there. And basically, the way this works is, I'll leave this switch up all the time with that relay energized, sending power to my lights. But when I get out of the truck and I shut my actual lights off with a light switch, I lose it. So that means that I can have my fog lights controlled with my main light switch. Plus I have the option with this switch of running them or not. I know it's redundant, but it was already there and the relay was already wired, and I thought, well, why the heck not? So that's what I chose to do in this instance. You know, I might suggest, if you're installing these, I might suggest you look into doing the same thing. It's not hard to do. But in fact, had I not had this relay here, I would have probably chanced it and tapped into the headlight circuit to give power to these lights, because I put it on the meter and they draw 3.6 amps. Well, actually, I'll just show you. I'll just cut in some footage of that right now. Okay, we have our amp meter hooked up, and if you have a meter that's capable of measuring amperage, one of the ports in it will have, like, you know, 5 amp, 10 amp. This one happens to be able to do a 20 amp load. Normally we would be hooked in here in order to you know, to measure, like, DC voltage, AC voltage, or continuity or whatever. But what you can do is you can unplug the red one and run it over here into the amp side, and then you'll move your meter over into the amp selection. In this case, I want to choose 20 amps. The idea is to choose more amps than you think you'll need, right? So hopefully I won't have a 20 amp load. If it does, it'll just shut my meter down. And the way we do that is our 2 leads here that come off of the meter, one of them is going to clip to where the battery connection, you know, goes to on the lights. The other one is going to clip right to the battery. So basically, effectively, I'm sending voltage from the positive battery cable in the red, through the meter, and back out to power my load. And when I turn this thing on, the meter will be able to measure how much draw or how much amperage is being used. So let's do this. Let's turn, right now I'm at 0.06. So if I turn it on, there we go. We're pulling 3.62 amps. And as far as the lights are, I have both filaments lit up, or you know, both colors lit up. So that should be the most that it's going to draw. So they don't draw very much amperage, and realistically, if you, like, for example, if you put them on the parking light circuit, you're probably okay. You would probably be okay having an extra 4 amp load, because, you know, like in my case, all of those cab lights up there used to be regular 194 incandescent bulbs. I've changed those out for LEDs. So I've got an overhead savings just right there. Obviously, the more bulbs you change out in your vehicle to LED, the less draw you're going to have, and, you know, the more overhead you have amperage wise on those circuits. So if it were me, I would probably do it. I'm not going to tell you to do it, and I'm not going to show you how I did it, because there's just too much liability there. Somebody gets a truck burned down, ain't my doing. So anyway, that's what the deal is. Let's go have a look at them up front. Okay, I'll turn the lights on, parking lights, and I'll just start cycling through the modes that they can do. By default, the mode that I've left it on is both the amber and the white driving lights on, and that's probably how I'll run it most of the time. But if I press the mode button, mode again, mode again, mode again, again, again. And that brings us back to where we were. But how do they look at night, you ask? I don't know. It's daytime still. But it'll be night soon, and we'll check them out. But, you know, for all intents and purposes, that looks pretty cool. Actually, I could see myself running those with parking lights. That'd be kind of cool too. Let's wait till nighttime. Well, we want to see the difference between what I had before, which is this, and it looks like I have one headlight. Maybe they should be adjusted because they're both on, but that's low beam, that's high beam, and this, so much better. And let me go back to low beam here just so we can look around. If I go through the modes, right there, that is the That is the amber and white both. So a push on the button goes to some flashies. That goes to some more flashies. That goes to some more flashies, and then back to the amber and white. That is just amber, which is kind of a cool effect. That is just white, I think. Yeah, that is just white, because that's my headlights that you see in the middle there. It's pretty crazy, but they are absolutely bright. I mean, you can really see. I don't have my adjustment just right, I don't think, because I believe the one on the left is pointing a little bit to the left, and the one on the right, it seems to be pretty much on the white line of the road. I like to have my lights adjusted so that they get the white line and just what's a little bit, a little bit in the ditch, and then I like this one to be, pretty close to the yellow line, so that they kind of meet in the middle a little bit. I'll also have to do some adjustment on these to make sure that I'm not blinding oncoming traffic, and get that worked out. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, man, what a difference. Not there, there. That's what this truck needed right there. Oh, and dash lights too. I guess I could go through my dash lights. This is my dash lights totally dim, or totally dim. And that's them on full brightness. Those LEDs made a huge difference that we put in a while back. Speedometer's working. It's amazing. Everything but the fuel gauge. We'll get that whipped into shape too at some point here, I'm sure. "71 degrees outside. Almost no humidity. It is a gorgeous night to get out and ride around in this old Dodge. Gorgeous night." So that's it. That's the lights. That's what they look like. That's what you can expect out of them. Boy, they deliver. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I mean, what else can you say about the lights besides they're bright, they work. I love the fact that we can do multiple colors, the amber versus the white. That's pretty helpful right there, just with a touch of a button in the cab. Really neat stuff. So I'm going to leave a link down in the description for Amazon, where you guys can pick those up from AuxBeam. And as usual, guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends about us. I'll see you next time.